Key point 1. Happiness is an intricate state of mind. It's a byproduct of a life well lived. It is wrong to treat happiness as a feeling that someone can buy, that it would eventually come calling once you achieve your ever-evolving goals. From what you must have learned over time, happiness is a fleeting state of mind many have chased and very few have reached. In essence, this summary fixates on the elusive euphoria that happiness is and tries to present you with a template that could help you mold a happy existence. Firstly, you should never rate happiness by relying only on external factors like money, power, or a great body. These goals can never quench your thirst for fulfillment. Your capacity to achieve one goal would naturally give birth to more goals. In other words, living is like partaking in a never-ending race. Happiness is not a goal, it's a byproduct of a life well lived. Eleanor Roosevelt. Yet, the universe is indifferent to your goals. The things you can control are so minuscule compared to those you cannot control. Chaos permeates the universe. For instance, you have no control over famine, drought, or diseases. Society identifies and capitalizes on your genetics, prioritizing survival and pleasure over everything else. Society has taught individuals to conform to rules that push them to fight some of their instincts or desires. It relies on a reward and punishment system that ignites fear and the expectation that your actions today will determine your future. Nonetheless, happiness thrives in people who value and understand consciousness's power. Realizing this truth will help you control fear and anxiety. It will fortify you with the awareness of the hysterical nature of social systems and how to accept or take the reward they avail. Key point 2. Consciousness and attention work hand in hand to shape who you are. Until recently, people valued the capacity to take a reflective approach to life rather than an instinctive one. Consciousness is, however, the differentiating factor between reflection and instinct. While instinct is your natural response to stimuli or external factors, reflection helps you put things into perspective. Your consciousness processes all the information your sensory system receives, aligning it with past events before making a judgment or decision. Also, it is now possible to manipulate perception by altering the prevailing contents of our consciousness. As such, you could choose to remain happy regardless of external hardship. Lack of direction, not lack of time, is the problem. We all have 24-hour days. Zig Ziglar. Besides, once we master an activity, our thought process no longer delegates core mental resources to it. For instance, a person used to a particular route would require less of their conscious self when plying this route. This mastery is because their consciousness has developed an automated response to the twists and turns that would typically require the complete concentration of someone new to the same route. Bearing this in mind, it becomes clear that attention or concentration determines the things we subject our consciousness to. There are a lot of things fighting for your attention daily, and you can't fit all of them into your conscious mind. Therefore, you choose the things you fixate and reminisce on, while other events are information that barely stays rooted in your thoughts. In essence, our thought process involves the information we have decided to pay attention to and the continuous analysis to which our consciousness subjects that information. If this process obeys a well-balanced system, wherein no information dislodges the goals that had become the bedrock of our existence, we can say that we have found order in consciousness, which the author called flow. Be mindful of the information you let into your mind because it will determine the outcome of your life. When there's a disorder in your consciousness resulting from information that threatens the viability of your goal, you tend to lose focus. The true standard for your consciousness is your capacity to attain a level of complexity that establishes flow. Only when you find this balance can you find happiness in the most unlikely places. Did you know? The average person is said to process 126 bits of information per second. Key point 3. The flow experience transcends pleasure. It involves activities that require skill and conscious complexity. Flow comes from the mental balance that concentrates us during activities. The activities and information in this context would work intricately in making our goals come to fruition. From the extensive studies cited by the author, flow experience had common traits, regardless of the location, culture, age, and sex of the person describing their optimal personal experience. People rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they are doing. Dale Carnegie. For one, flow experience transcends pleasure as it involves activities that require skill and conscious complexity. Many believe pleasure is symbolic of happiness, but do not obey this simple condition. On the other hand, enjoyment fits into this context perfectly. To enjoy an activity, you must have developed the skill to minimize errors. Enjoyment comes from an ability to receive feedback from each moment spent subjecting yourself to a task. The fickleness of time rarely comes to mind when you are engrossed in flow experience. When you participate in enriching and exhilarating activities, hours could shrink to minutes, or minutes could stretch into hours. However, since games, writing, and art are the most common examples of flow activities known to man, it is easier to fall into the abyss of competition. Competition is not the enemy of optimal experience, though. It even contributes to it only if the motivation for competing is a burning passion for acquiring more skills. In contrast, competing so you could beat your opponent or impress the audience is the bane of the flow experience. As such, activities that should propel us into epiphany slowly become the source of our unhappiness. Therefore, it is not surprising that some would find contentment and happiness in detention camps, while other people are unable to find joy and comfort. Paramount to the disturbing narrative of today's unhappy generation is the reclassification of medical and habitual factors that could ground an individual's capacity to experience flow. Medical conditions that limit your control over the things that your consciousness processes can stifle happiness. Besides, self-consciousness and self-centeredness are known habitual factors contributing to an attention disorder. Key point 4. Your body and mind are core to your flow experience. Your body contains sensory capabilities that you can channel into activities that promise optimal experiences. You can make different parts of your body access a pleasurable conscious state. Action in itself, especially those meant to stretch your body's limits, is an access point to a flow experience. You could run faster, throw farther, jump higher, and subject your consciousness to achieving feats that you had previously struggled to accomplish. Similarly, it is possible to enjoy less tedious activities like walking. Regardless of your chosen exercise form, the vital thing is to introduce goal-oriented motivation by utilizing milestones. Enjoyment can come from dancing, as it is an essential part of many cultural models, which look to immerse their people into a conscious state that resonates with pleasure. Just as the body holds countless loops into the realm of enjoyment, the mind can also facilitate flow in diverse ways. The most common way known to humans is the pleasure derived from seeing. You could choose to see art in just about anything. You could concentrate all your attention on written words and artworks and find the same level of flow that you could draw from physically imposing activities. Furthermore, the art of thinking is one of the mental rituals that could drive an optimal experience. Also, the entrenchment in science, history, psychology, and the revel in mentally tasking puzzles and intricacies of spoken words can facilitate an optimal experience. Did you know? Writing is a powerful tool to release built-up tension, explore new possibilities, sharpen your thinking, and become more focused. It would help if you practiced it often. Key point 5. Different things and conditions motivate people differently. Flow is the essence of happiness. No part of our lives holds greater leverage on flow than work. Work is the defining activity you have come to serve as a channel to enforce your core goals. Success at work should generally translate into a sustainable flow state. However, time and again, this has not been the case. On the contrary, success in our jobs doesn't necessarily mean that what we do is fulfilling. The working conditions or tedious nature of work do not correlate to how much people enjoy doing them. Different things and situations motivate people differently. While some have found it extremely difficult to cope under pressure, others relish the mental rigor, deadlines, and challenges. Remember, jobs like hunting, fishing, or other works with similar patterns to games tend to spur participants to revel in each second invested in them. At the same time, jobs that require repetitive tasks are boring. On the other hand, leisure is mostly spent on less enjoyable activities or amidst unproductive company. Unproductivity brought about by companionship with the wrong set of people is likely a function of disdain for solitude. While solitude has inspired some of the most revolutionary thoughts the world has seen, many still find it challenging to bask in being alone. Individuals who can thrive in solitude have successfully detached their consciousness order from extrinsic factors. Although the skill is essential to maintaining our unique selves, it goes against the very fabric of our nature. Human beings thrive where relationships and communication distract us from the negativity that could cloud our consciousness when we're alone. As such, you must strike a balance between honing solitude and reveling in the benefits of companionship. Relationships, marriages, families, and friendships are critical contributors to entropic disorder and optimal experience. Our capacity to channel all these fragments of human relations as fuel for our consciousness while concentrating efforts to keep them as healthy as possible is the only way to sustain flow. Key point 6. You can find flow in chaos. The symbolism of happiness, like money, comfort, good health, and power, doesn't necessarily translate to flow. Throughout man's existence, we have admired individuals who have found peace in chaos and meaning in disorder, and stuck to their goals, regardless of the determining force at play. These people command a sense of awareness of their surroundings and build transformative mechanisms that help them cope with reality. Conversely, stress or helplessness would rid an average individual of their control over consciousness, especially when favorable mechanisms aren't in place. This notion defines our varied responses to situations that don't fit into our predefined goals. While this is a given, it is even more critical for people that have structured their whole existence to obey genetic and social instructions. On the one hand, genetically induced goals are food, comfort, sex, and dominance. On the other hand, socially imposed goals include education, a good job, a happy family, and so on. Those that are rigidly programmed to live by these goals start to panic once factors beyond their control threaten these two sets of goals, irrespective of how irrelevant the perceived chaos is. People that find flow in chaos have learned to set individualistic goals while weighing the challenges they may encounter in the long run. The people that find flow despite challenges do so by immersing all of their consciousness in activities that would bring their goals to fruition. They use the feedback received along the way to adjust the intensity of their progress. These people also tend to base all their important decisions on fulfilling specific purposes, an attitude traceable to our increasingly complex consciousness. You want to find meaning in your existence and live by a sense that would drive you for the entirety of your life. Freedom has also reduced the human propensity to concentrate on a particular goal for a long time. There are too many possibilities and opportunities and little to no restrictions, hence the reason for chaos. Did you know? Your inability to find an inexhaustible goal would subject your consciousness to chaos. Conclusion. Flow and happiness are siblings. You are said to have attained a level of flow when you have successfully achieved happiness and fulfillment in your daily life. Happiness does not happen out of the blue, nor is it a result of good fortune or random chance. It is not something that money can buy or power can command. It doesn't depend on outside events, but on how we interpret them. Happiness is a condition that must be prepared for, cultivated, and defended by each person. It is also not determined by how much wealth or comfort you have, but by how fulfilled and essential you feel. So, how do we attain this state of happiness if it's not dependent on any of the above factors? One thing is sure, we cannot reach happiness by consciously searching for it. By being fully involved with every detail of our lives, whether good or bad, we find joy, not by looking for it directly. We cannot pursue happiness. It must ensue as the unintended side effect of one's dedication to a course more significant than oneself. And flow is one factor that contributes to our overall happiness. Flow is all about doing all you do with absolute focus and commitment. Cut away from distractions and be fully involved in even the little things you do. Doing this will get you into the coveted state of flow, where you feel good about yourself and your actions. By losing yourself in essential tasks, you enjoy yourself more. You reduce stress, your quality output increases, and you get important stuff done instead of being ordinarily busy. Try this. Find a goal that is both challenging and fun. Build the skill sets required to excel in it, and your consciousness will automatically model your thought processes to facilitate an optimal experience.